As you know, we live on the third planet from the Sun, planet Earth. You're probably pretty familiar with the part of Earth near your home and school. But what about the rest of the planet? What makes Earth unique and different from the other planets in our solar system? And how is Earth different from the Sun and the Moon? You may not realize it, but both the Sun and Moon are very important to our existence. Not only does the Sun provide us with light, but it also plays a very important role in the force of gravity, which we'll discuss later. The Moon, too, plays an important function, specifically in the formation of tides in the oceans. During the next few minutes, we're going to investigate the characteristics of Earth, our Sun, and the Moon. And we're going to take a look at how they interact with each other as we explore the exciting properties and movements of Earth, Sun, and Moon. While humans have inhabited Earth for thousands of years, we're still learning new things about our planet all the time. One thing we've come to realize is that Earth is unique in our solar system. What makes it unique? Unlike the other planets in our solar system, Earth has abundant liquid water. In fact, over 70% of Earth's surface is covered by oceans and lakes. The abundance of liquid water may be the single most important factor enabling life to exist on the planet. Another important factor is Earth's temperature. It's moderate and does not wildly fluctuate as on other planets. And Earth's atmosphere contains some very important gases, including carbon dioxide and oxygen. Earth also experiences something called gravity. Let's take a look at this important force. You decide. What holds the planets in orbit? That's right, an extremely important force called gravity holds the planets, including Earth, in orbit. Gravity is the force of attraction between objects, such as the Sun and the planets. Without gravity, the planets would spin off into space. The force of gravity is also at work here on Earth. The force of gravity pulls objects toward the center of the Earth. And when you jump off something, gravity pulls your body downward. A gravitational force also exists between the Earth and our Moon. We'll discuss this in a few minutes. But first, let's discuss the Sun. The Sun provides us with light and heat. Without the Sun, life as we know it wouldn't exist. You compare. How big is the Sun compared to Earth? The Sun is huge. Nearly 1 million planets the size of Earth could fit inside the Sun. The Sun in our solar system is actually a star, and it happens to be our nearest star. Like many other stars in the galaxy, it's made up of very hot gases. The gases on the Sun's outer surface, called the corona, can reach a temperature of 1.7 million degrees. And in the center of the Sun, called the core, temperatures exceed 15 million degrees Celsius. The energy generated by the Sun is so intense it can give you a sunburn, even though you're 150 million kilometers away here on Earth. Earth's moon is about 380,000 kilometers from us, which is about 100 times the distance from New York to Los Angeles. On July 20th, 1969, the first humans landed on the moon after traveling for 3 days from Earth. Since that time, there have been several expeditions to the moon, and we've learned a great deal about it. The moon's diameter is about 1/4 the size of Earth's diameter and has less than 2% of Earth's mass. There's no water on the moon and no life on the moon. The surface is dotted with a large number of craters, mostly the result of meteorites impacting the lunar surface. Plains and mountains make up the dusty landscape. Due to the fact that it doesn't have a well-developed atmosphere, the moon experiences great temperature fluctuations from very hot to very cold. In short, the moon is a dry, airless, and lifeless object. However, it does have a big influence on planet Earth. You decide. What's the source of the moon's light? The moon doesn't generate its own light, but instead reflects light from the sun. So, when you see the moon, it's actually reflecting light back to Earth from the sun. Have you ever noticed that the moon appears to have many different shapes? The moon is not changing its shape, but instead, different sections of the moon are lit by the sun and reflect these different shapes back to Earth. The different shapes we see are called phases of the moon and are a result of the moon's revolution around Earth, which takes a little less than 28 days. For example, this is the position of the Earth, Moon, and Sun in the first phase of the roughly 4-week cycle in which Moon orbits Earth. We can't see the Moon because the Sun and the Moon are lined up in the same direction. This is called a new moon. As the Moon revolves around Earth, sunlight begins to illuminate the side we can see. This first appears as a small crescent. Each day, the lighted area of the moon appears to grow bigger. This is called waxing. When half the moon appears, this is called the first quarter phase. The moon continues to orbit and wax until about 2 weeks after the new moon, and a full moon appears. In a full moon, Earth is between the sun and the moon. In the following days, the lighted area of the moon decreases in size. This is called waning. This is a third quarter moon, where you can see the left half illuminated. As the days go by, we see less and less of the illuminated moon until a new moon once again occurs, starting the cycle all over again. While on vacation, a group of tourists observing wildlife in the Galapagos Islands of Ecuador noticed the light darkening, even though it was the middle of the afternoon. You decide. What do you think was occurring? The sun was becoming blocked out by the moon in an event called a solar eclipse. An eclipse occurs when one object in space casts a shadow onto another object. This happens when the sun, moon, and Earth are perfectly lined up. Eclipses are not extremely common. Never look at a solar eclipse without special eye protection. In a solar eclipse, the sun's light is either totally or partially blocked by the moon. This casts a shadow on a portion of the Earth and causes the day to darken. This is an image of another type of eclipse, called a lunar eclipse. It occurs when Earth is directly between the moon and the sun. During a lunar eclipse, the Earth casts a shadow on the moon, causing a portion of the moon or the entire moon to darken to an eerie orangish-red color. If you've ever sat at the beach for an entire day, you've probably observed the movements of the tides. Tides involve the rise and fall of ocean levels about every 12.5 hours. Every 6 hours, there's a high tide, and every 6 hours, there's a low tide. You decide. What causes these tidal movements? Believe it or not, the interaction of the moon and Earth is responsible for the tides. As the Earth rotates, the moon's strong gravitational force actually pulls water toward a point on the Earth's surface which is closest to the moon. This diagram shows how the point on the Earth closest to the moon is pulled toward the moon, causing a high tide. A similar bulge of water also occurs directly opposite this point, on the other side of the Earth, creating another high tide there. On Earth, low tides are formed between these two bulges, here and here. This is a simple explanation of how tides are created through the interaction of Earth and Moon. Depending on the time of year and your location on Earth, tides may vary greatly. During the past few minutes, we've explored some of the fascinating features of the Earth, Sun, and Moon. We began by studying some of the characteristics which make Earth unique in the solar system. Then we discussed the nature of our nearest star, the Sun. Some of the features of the Moon, which orbits our planet, were investigated. And the various phases of the Moon were examined. We also discussed the Moon's role in the formation of tides. And we took a look at the formation of solar and lunar eclipses. So, the next time you look up at the Moon, notice the tide going out, or happen to see an eclipse, think about some of the things we discussed during the past few minutes. You just might look at the Earth, Sun, and Moon a little differently. Fill in the correct word to complete the sentence. Good luck, and let's get started. Number 1. The force of holds us on Earth. Number 2. The moon light from the sun. Number 3. Moon's different shapes are called of the moon. Number 4. A solar casts a shadow on Earth. And number 5. Involve the regular rise and fall of the oceans.